On today's show, we have Mr. Matt Berthot. Matt, a small town native from the Midwest, discovered his love for music early on. Proud husband and father, he began his journey as a public school choir teacher. Using music to instill confidence and connection in his students. Eventually, Matt expanded his classroom to the world. Today, he is dedicated to improving people's connection, confidence, communication, and clarity, one voice at a time. Through his coaching, Matt empowers individuals to harness the true power of their voice and encourage their soul to come out to say hello to the world. Matt, welcome to the show.
Welcome to Simply Walk the Talk. Our bodies and minds adapt to what we do most of the time. If you want to change your body and mind, you must change what it is you do most of the time. This podcast explores all things health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle, and biohacking. Stay tuned as we explore various thoughts, methods, and experiences from a multitude of conversations between our interesting guests and experts through many fields of work. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Simply walk the talk. Simply walk the talk.
Thanks for having me, Josh. This is awesome, man. Your
No
your
problem.
uh your whole setup is incredible. I love it.
Well, like we say, it takes a village, right? And so I have a lot of support, thanks to Gordon in the background here, and we've been really having a good time. We've had some amazing episodes recently, in which I think we're starting to build up some steam. So I think this is the perfect time to have you on. And I'll
Awesome.
just say to the audience, the people who are watching and listening, Matt and I, we had a brief discussion before recording today, and he wanted to kind of take me through some of the work that he does, and I thought, hey, let's leverage this podcast so that people can kind of be a fly on the wall to see what it would be like to work with someone who knows the voice like Matt does. So we're going to be referring back to his website every once in a while, which is voicebymatt.com. And then, of course, if you're interested in improving your voice and bringing it out to the world to say hello, then you want to keep listening. Okay. So, Matt, let's start there. How did you get your start and how did you get to where you are today?
It's a great question, Josh. I grew up in the Midwest, just like you. We found out before we got on the call here,
Yeah.
and I grew up a three-sport athlete. I was football, baseball, and wrestling. I was on a four-time state champion wrestling team. I was actually a state champion wrestler myself my junior year. Actually wrestled some boys from Oklahoma, from Midwest City, from Choctaw. Um,
Okay.
and
All right.
so I know about Oklahoma wrestling
Yeah.
big time.
Especially Oklahoma
Um,
State, right?
oh yeah, Oklahoma State's legit. I actually have
Yeah.
some friends that went to school there and wrestled on the team. And and so I wasn't in choir. I didn't take voice lessons. I played the drums from sixth
Me too.
grade until college. Oh, that's crazy, Josh. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and so middle of my junior year, this girl broke up with me, broke my heart. I was dating her for like 2.5 years. And my counselor, Bob Testman, he said, Matt, what do you love? And I said, this girl's name. I'm not going to say her name. I don't want to embarrass her. But I said, "This girl's name," and he goes, "No, what do you love?" I said, "I love helping people. I like seeing people happy." He said, "Okay, okay. Well, what do you love that you're not doing right now?" Mr. Testman. All right. I like to sing a little bit. And he
Mhm.
said, "All right, okay. Well, we're gonna enroll you in choir." Middle of my junior year, right? So
Right.
imagine that, like a jock boy,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be in choir. I don't want to be in choir. And I joined choir. I didn't know how to read music. I didn't know how to I thought key signatures were like something that you took and like put in some special door, like, to unlock the music gods or something. And so I I got rocked, and I couldn't sing. I was a terrible singer. People made fun of me, and I was like, man, I got to get better at this.
Mm.
And so I just started taking random voice lessons from people in my little town, Arc City. And eventually I just fell in love with it. I actually quit baseball my senior year so I could focus more on music. And I went to college uh, at Friends University, changed my major 3 times. I was music ed, then I was voice performance, then I was religion, then I went back to music ed because I was like, man, I'm supposed to be a teacher. And about junior year, senior year, I started teaching private voice on the side, kind of a side job. I was also selling computers at CompUSA and did some internet help desk stuff to because I'm kind of a tech nerd. And all of a sudden, I had a choice to be a teacher or to be a salesperson. And at baccalaureate at Friends University, my mentor, Jim Smith, said the best thing that you can do in your life is help somebody else. And I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be a teacher. And
Mm.
so I went back to his house, filled out the only application where I could coach wrestling and coach football. And it happened to be Winfield High School. And I got the job and I was there for 19 years.
Wow.
This last May, I resigned from teaching forever, public school. In 2019, I joined the Arate Syndicate, which is a group of entrepreneurs that are coached by Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. And I went to my first live event in St. Louis, Missouri. And Stephanie Van Dam, we were all doing 75 hard at that time. That's how
Mhm.
she knew me. I was on that first wave that finished. And she goes, Matt, I got to tell you something. And I was like, man, I've never met this girl in my life. And she's trying to tell me, I got to tell you something. So, Josh, I know like you've been in a situation before where somebody comes up to you that kind of knows you and they're like, hey, I got to tell you something really important. And that moment, you're like, oh, this is about to change my life forever.
Mhm.
And she turned around and she goes, hey, Matt, did you know that Tony Robbins has a voice coach? And I said, whew, I can do that. I can totally do that.
Mm.
And so Ed Milet talked. I'm taking notes. There's crazy notes. Andy Frisella taking crazy notes. Jesse Itzler taking crazy notes. And I, of course, hit them all up on DMs. I'm like, hey, let me help you. Let me help you. The next day, I wrote a business plan. And over the next week, I got on Zoom calls, tried to network with everybody that I met there from the event. And one guy, Nathan Mansfield, one guy gave me a shot in 2019, the CEO of Strong Physiques in San Antonio, Texas. He gave me a shot, and I got on the Zoom call, which I'm going to show you guys here in a second, and showed him kind of what I do. And obviously, then it was not as concise and clear with my presentation. But at the end of the Zoom call, he said, holy crap, Matt, I thought you were full of crap. Yeah, man, let's do this. I'm going to sign up.
Wow.
And so since Nathan, I've coached about 100 business professionals plus then. Now I've got it broken down into an 8-session program. I am going to roll a group out this next week. I'm going to launch it. It's going to be called the Vocal Order. So it's going to be for people that, maybe they can't afford the price point of the actual coaching with me one-on-one, but they still want to get some voice work. And there'll be a bi-monthly call or bi-weekly call, so 2 per month. But yeah, this is the first time I've actually talked about this, Josh. So
Very cool.
it's gonna launch real soon. So at the end of my teaching career, this last May, I made a choice. I was like, you know what? I'm supposed to go around the world on a private jet, teaching people how to find their voice, teach people how to get their soul to come out and say hello. So the reason why, right? So
Mhm.
your purpose, why are you doing this, Matt? Well, when I was in high school, about sophomore year, junior year, my grandfather committed suicide. He
Mm.
committed suicide. He shot himself in the chest with a shotgun in his garage. Why did he do that? Well, most men don't talk about their feelings. And so he didn't talk about his feelings. He stuffed them. And my dad was supposed to go over that day to the farm. And my dad had that guilt and shame his entire life. Did my dad talk about it, Josh? No, he didn't
Wow.
talk about it. Do you think that my grandpa Berthot, do you think his dad talked about his feelings? No. How about his dad? No. How about his dad? So we're talking about generations of the Bertho men, specifically men, that didn't talk about their feelings. And not only that, my grandma Bertho, she really didn't communicate her feelings either to him. And my dad lived with that his entire life. In June 2020, he passed away from the widowmaker heart attack. He never talked to me about it really. He would numb it. I knew that he had to take some anxiety depression pills in the 90s. I didn't even know what those were. And he drank a lot, ate a lot. He'd do the yo-yo, right? And he'd stuff a lot of his feelings, just like a lot of people do. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast right now, you can relate. You can relate because you have family that do it too, or maybe you do the same thing. And you're not alone. But my purpose is to help people navigate their life through this hardship, the trauma, so that they can talk about their emotions, so they can get their voice out, so that they can speak their truth. And like I said, so their soul can come out and say hello to the world.
Mm.
So that's kind of the origin story of how we got here.
That is powerful, Matt. Like, really, thank you for sharing that. And I must say, we on this show are huge believers in everything you just talked about in terms of being able to speak and be vulnerable. We've done
Mm,
that many times on this show, and I try to practice that in my daily life as well. Hence, why the name of the show is called "Simply Walk the Talk,"
mm,
and it's very, very powerful. And I also find it interesting that you come to this show and you've found your path to being a voice coach by way of fitness, which is very relevant to this show, but it's not the only thing we talk about. And I think some of the things that is important about what you mentioned is it sounds to me like it's not just you're not just a voice coach in helping people to sing better, which I mean is a benefit, but it's also about using your voice to heal yourself, to help others heal themselves, right? Because I think, like
mm,
you said, anyone listening right now, maybe they take a pause. You pause and you just reflect back on like who in my life or in my own life, who else is also not using their voice to kind of talk about things. And I think
mm,
that's super important. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for doing what you do. And
mm.
my hope is that we get a chance to kind of see how that pans out. But I wanted to give you a really quick story before we carry on because I think this is very important. And I've never talked about this. I don't think I
Let's
know
go. Let's
I
go.
I've never
Come
talked about
on.
this on
Get it
this show
out,
for sure.
Josh.
so okay, so like you, I'm also very much a person that likes to do a variety of things. So before I even moved to New York, I've been here for like 19 years, and from Oklahoma, as you know. And in Oklahoma, I always kind of felt like I was being groomed to be a person that kind of finds one lane, like stay in your lane, do one thing, and then excel in that, right? And then that's what you do. And then you get married, you have kids, you live your life, and that's it, right? It's just
Yep.
this kind of perpetual cycle of nothing. It's what it felt like to me, right? And I always kind of thought, man, but I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that, and kind of like your story in which the person asks you, what do you love? For me, I was like, I love all kinds of things, and I want to explore that because I feel like life is here to be lived, and
Mm,
not only to just live but to thrive, right?
mhm,
So I did martial arts, and actually martial arts was a huge part of my life. And I went on to play basketball. So I was also like you, multiple sports. So I did basketball, track and field. I was in band, so that's why I say I played drums. I was a percussion team, percussion captain. We went to state, did all that stuff. Went to state in basketball. So similar to you, I had this idea of like trying to find what my lane was, and
Mm-hmm.
also kind of who I am and what is my purpose in life. And when I finally decided to, kind of skipping forward a little bit, when I finally decided to move to New York, it wasn't because New York was on my radar. It was mostly
Mm.
because there was one company that took a chance with me, similar to you. And the one person took a chance in wanting to do your work. And that one company was Rodale. So what I ended up doing was I kind of wanted to get into modeling and acting,
Cool.
and I had all of these like photos when I got my first laptop. I did a copy and paste, and I had all these images, and I literally went to Walmart and grabbed every magazine, every fitness magazine I could find that had any kind of email associated with the magazine, right? And so I just copy and pasted all these images and this response, this paragraph saying, "Hey, I'm this kid from Oklahoma. I'd like to be in your magazine." And
Wow.
one company got back to me, Rodale, and Rodale is like this huge conglomerate of a bunch of different magazines, and Men's Health magazine was specific to the one that reached out to me. And they were like,
Dang.
"Yeah, we think you could do it, but the problem is we typically take models from New York, and we have a number of agencies that we hire from." So I was like, "Okay, guess I got to go to New York." So I went to New York, and I found out quickly that this place is where I needed to be because everybody was hustling, right? Everybody was hustling. And I was like, here I am thinking that I'm doing something, but I see everybody's doing something here and multiple things, right? So now, once I finally decided to move to New York, I thought, okay, what am I going to do? Because the modeling and acting world isn't very regular.
Mm.
And I knew that I needed to kind of supplement that with something else. So I did everything from like being a dancer at bar mitzvahs to like to all kinds of things. And one of those things was like, if I wanted to get more acting jobs, what should I do? Maybe practice singing, right?
Yep. Yep.
So like, if as an actor or as a model or whatever, if you can fill out the list of talents, if you can fill out more, then you have a better opportunity of getting gigs. And
Hmm.
so there was a couple opportunities for me to get amazing acting roles, but it required me to sing. So I said, okay, I don't really have the money to go and get a singing coach or a voice coach. So screw it. Let me just go to some auditions, right? I'm just gonna go to some singing auditions because,
Oh yeah.
I catch myself thinking I can sing a little bit. Everybody, we have that thing where we sing in the shower, we sing in the car, and the girl that we might be dating at the time is like, "Oh my
Oh
gosh,
yeah.
you can sing!" So it was
Oh
like
yeah.
pumping my head up, and so here I go to one of the most iconic places to be at here in New York City at the Apollo. Okay, the
Mm.
Apollo, right? I had never taken a a singing
You
course or anything. And so here I am on the stage of Apollo, and I choose a
wow.
song that was probably one of the most difficult songs. It's called "Tomorrow" by the Winans, and
Okay.
it's a very tough song. And when the people that were auditioning me, they were like, "Oh, okay, so we got Josh, and you're gonna sing Tomorrow by the Winans. Oh, okay, we're excited to hear this, right?" And mind you, I'm like, oh, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm here. May as well go for it. So I started singing all the way up into the point where I had to hit one of those high notes, and I just stopped, and I just said, "Thank you for your time," and I just left.
Oh.
Right, because I mean, I wasn't crushing it. Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I was crushing it, but what it did allow me to do is to get over the fear of that audition process.
Yep.
And then what I decided to do at that point was actually invest in a singing coach. And so I go on Craigslist at the time because this was way well before social media. I go on Craigslist and I find the most reasonable singing coach. And I sign up and I go to this lady's apartment and I go upstairs and I see she's this ancient woman. I mean,
Oh
bless
man.
her, bless her. I'm sure she's one of the best probably, but at the rate that I could charge, maybe not, you know. And she was just this sweet old fragile lady that's welcoming me in, and she's like, "All right, so you want to sing? Yeah, I want to sing." And she's like, "Okay, well, like what kind of style are you looking to do and this and that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I want to be able to just sing some gospel songs and maybe some R&B songs. I just want to improve my voice." And so she's like, "Okay." So she takes me through kind of your standard vocal drills, and here I am thinking like A E I O U, and do re mi fa sol la ti, and I'm like, like I want to get
This
on with
ain't
it. Like
it.
I
Yeah.
want to sing the song. And she had these old cassette tapes and this and that. And so,
Oh
long story
boy.
short, I completed 4 sessions with her, and then I just quickly realized, like, you know what, this singing thing is not for me. And so
Hmm.
I never did it anymore. But this is one of the reasons why I was encouraged to have you come on, because I kind of want to see what it would be like in this kind of modern age with someone who kind of can relate more to me, right? You're not this old fragile woman. Not that she's bad, but like I am interested. You know what I mean? I'm interested. So that's that. Yeah.
Man, you just set me up perfect. So
Yeah.
this is gonna be fun, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're good to play a little bit? You good to play along a little bit today?
Oh, absolutely. I
All
have
right.
no qualms. If I can get on the Apollo stage, I can do it here.
You can get on your own stage.
Let's get it.
Well, Josh, the beautiful thing about the way that I teach technique, all right. So I taught the same way for 12, 13 years. And then I went to my first Estel voice training workshop. It was 5 days. I was 38 years old, and this little ninja named Kim Steinhauer came in, and she taught us about the Estel voice training technique, the model. And so a little old lady, Joe Estel, was 50 years old in the 80s, and she was an opera singer, and she didn't understand how come she sounds like she sounds, but nobody else sounds like her. And so she went back to school at Pittsburgh. She studied the voice in a way more scientifically with vocology, not the actual speaking track or singing track. And she realized that the vocal folds themselves are the size of your fingernails. They sit right here in your throat. And everything around the vocal folds is what actually makes the sound. Air is just the way that the vocal folds can vibrate. And so, just like everything in our body, it can get stronger, it can get more resilient, your tendons, your muscles, and it can be trained. And so, she was watching like the 84 Winter Olympics, and she found out in figure skating, she can make these gestures with her hands and then manipulate what's happening inside of our throat, because we can't see what's happening inside of our throat. But if we make the sounds that correlate to the movement that she saw with the scopes down your throat, then we can start really strengthening what's happening inside of our throat. In a sense, this was the key word that got me hooked on this, Josh. You can be a vocal athlete.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, sign me up for that. Let's do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of give you the like if we were doing an intro call, and I'm going to kind of show you kind of the sounds that we make that help us get a little bit stronger. So these are all sounds like we that have to do with the closure of the vocal folds and then everything around the vocal folds. So I need to back up a little bit. The way that I teach is with craft, which is technique, which is what I'm going to show you now, artistry, which is storytelling, which Josh and I have both demonstrated today already. But the gift, the reason why I'm talking to Josh right now is magic, spirit, energy, God. All right. That's that's the good stuff. In 2019, it was a big year for me. I got to present in London at King's College, and I got to be the last speaker of the day. And my subject to talk about was performance magic,
Mm.
getting people to feel what we want them to feel, but also see what we want them to see. All right. So we're gonna do the voice technique first, And I'm just gonna kind of blast through these real quick, Josh, and then I might have you make a couple of these sounds with me just to kind of see where you're at. All right. Let me
Should 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 we put Gordon on the spot and have him do it too?
shoot if he wants to, man. Let me grab the speaker cable and put it in my interface real quick. Hold on one second.
No
Yeah, no
problem.
worries.
Gordon, what's up, man?
I'm down. Look, man, I like singing. I do Smule, which is a really fun app for people just for fun. I highly recommend. It's like a karaoke app, but I've done vocals with my buddies in high school, just jam bands, and my mom is a big vocal theater background, so I appreciate the art form for sure.
So
Yeah.
so let's you do it too then. Why not?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh dang. Yeah,
Yes.
man.
Oh, I'm already having fun. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna start with Josh, because Gordon's gonna be down here. He's gonna talk way down here. He's got that James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman low
Well,
larynx going,
and
man.
and just a little story or quick note on that is actually I went to an all boys school in ninth grade and joined their men's a cappella group. And my course teacher at the time, still had a higher voice, and I thought I was going to be higher tenor soprano range. And it was right at the period where I was, maturing as a young man. And he's like, Gordon, like, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think you're gonna end up there. And I'm like, what? Like, come on.
Yeah,
That's
you
cool.
got that. You got that Morgan Freeman Shawshank voice, man. You got. I was like, dang. All right. So Josh, say uh-huh.
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 So I'm gonna do it where your pitch is, all right? And I'm
Okay.
just gonna do the sounds first, and then I'm gonna talk about it, all right? Say it one more time, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
E ah ooh he ha hoo he ah ooh ee, ah, ooh. So what I just showed you were onsets, first sound that comes out of your mouth, and offsets, the last sound that comes out of your mouth. All right. This is constriction. Eow. So that's where the front of our throat is a little tight. So if you hear Ed Milet talk, he gets real excited, or Tony Robbins, they start talking like this, and it's kind of like that Hulk Hogan thing. That's not good for the vocal folds, because just like our body, if I go do pull-ups, which I did today, and you do them every day, you're going to start getting calluses on your hands. Your vocal folds are going to be the same way. So if they're rubbing together and you got a lot of pressure and a lot of tension happening on your vocal folds, it's going to cause nodules. And then you have to have vocal rest, or worst case scenario, surgery to get rid of those, which Adele, Sam Smith, they've all had to go through that. What we want, eow, and then full retraction, eow. So that's creating space in our throat so that the vocal folds can play, so they can move around the way they want to move around. All right. Your vocal folds can be thick, e ah ooh, stiff, eow, thin, eow, or slack, eow. Josh, do this for me. E ah ooh. Do that.
E ah ooh.
That was very good. Now, stiff folds, your vocal folds are touching, and then air is still coming through a little bit. Eow.
Okay.
Go
Do
ahead.
that now. Do that now.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you give me another example again?
With the gesture. Eow. Eow. More air. Let more air pass through and relax your
I think
shoulders.
John Mayer.
Eow. There you go. Good. Both of you can just kind of say this. Then put your hand right here gently and say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
All right,
good. Now
I'll
say
let
this.
you go first.
Now wide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So what you felt this whole space narrow, and you felt it widen. All right. That's called area epiglottic sphincter. All right. It can be oral, which was non-nasal. All right. Or it can be nasal. E-I-U. All right. High larynx. E-I-U. Like a little kid. Mid. E-I-U. Or low larynx, like Gordon. E-I-U. Now, what's cool about that is the same pitch. E. Same pitch. Different larynx position. Tongue. Mid tongue. E-I-U. Low tongue. Yo, so I'm gonna talk about low tongue. I'm talking with low tongue right now. And so if you live in the Midwest, you live in New York, Brooklyn, Boston, all over the world, people talk with low tongue. And what low tongue
A low
is
tongue.
it's yeah, is low tongue is the lower frequencies of sound are being heard. So to make it really dumbed down, your bass, your mid, your treble. When you're talking with low tongue, you're just getting bass. That's all you're getting. There's no treble. It's very. It sounds like you have marshmallows in your mouth. All right. Mid tongue adds that mid frequency so we can hear it. All right. And so what I had to do is I had to train my tongue to sit a little bit higher. Eo. Listen to that. Here's low. Eo. Here's high. Eo. Big difference. That treble just kicks right in, right?
Yeah.
And so that is a big teaching tool that I do with my students is I teach them how to strengthen that tongue so that they get that treble in their voice all the time. So people like Gordon don't have to go in and boost the treble through the freaking roof so that we can
Mhm.
actually understand what they're saying.
Yeah, honestly, that's I don't want to interrupt here, but that is something that I commonly run into where people have a hard time understanding me because I come off too monotone, and my mom's saying always, "You need to articulate more, pronunciate more." Partially just my tone is
You need to work on your tongue.
okay.
But more so from where you're coming from, Gordon, is going to be more artistry story magic, and that's that's what we'll dive into next. All right, low velum. Mm, so that's just sound out of your nose. Mid velum is sound out of your nose and your mouth. Meow. All right, and high velum is what we want because we don't want to. When I work with a client, if they talk like this and then it's very nasal, like nobody wants to listen to that on a podcast, right?
At
So
Shapiro.
here, yeah. So mid velum to high velum, you should hear a little click, meow, and you heard that click going, and that what that is we're switching everything out of the nose and only through the mouth, which is what we want. All right. Um, so I work with posture. I work with what we call anchor instead of a lot of breath. Um, a lot of teachers use a lot of breath and they think breath is going to help you get high notes when it doesn't really do that. Remember, your vocal folds are the size of your fingernails, they sit right here. If I'm taking an extraordinary amount of breath, that much air on those two little guys right here, what's going to happen if I'm pushing that much air?
It's gonna blow them out, blow them away.
Yeah, it's going to break. Or
Mm,
what do we know? It's going to crack.
right. Okay.
Because that tension, that pressure, plus you have that, plus this tension here, it's going to break every time. All right.
Mm,
So that's the technique in a nutshell.
I
All
love
right.
it. I love
Yeah.
it.
And so what I do is I give my clients a video. It's like a 2 minute to 3 minute video where I prescribe this is how many times I need you to do it every day. And then what happens over time, Josh, as an athlete, what happens? We start getting stronger, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens? It starts to become muscle memory. And
Mhm.
then no one will ever say to you, can you repeat that again? I can't understand you.
Mm.
Okay.
That's the power of
So
your voice.
that's powerful, right? And you only get one. You only get one voice. You only get one life. Why wouldn't you want it to be the best it possibly can be?
Right.
That's craft. Artistry is storytelling. So, Josh has a story, so does Gordon. And so what I would do is I would talk to you about, how did you grow up? How were you raised? How did mom handle conflict? How did dad handle conflict? We would talk about trauma. We talk about hardships. People cry every single time with me, guys. Like
Yeah,
they
I
just
believe it.
do. They just
Yeah.
do. I create this space for them to
Yeah.
just share. Like, talk to me, get it out. I got goosebumps just saying that.
Hmm.
But it's important because what I'm able to do with a business professional, especially, is a lot of business professionals are very intelligent and they have a lot going on up there. And so when they speak, it's kind of a shotgun. There's no order to it. All right. And so what I do is I go, okay, this is what we're dealing with here. Let's put it into this package. All right. And we're really going to focus on that. For instance, my name is Matt Berthot. I'm a voice coach. I teach with craft, which is technique, artistry, storytelling, magic, people feeling what you want them to feel. Working with me, you're going to get clarity, confidence, connection, communication, and courage. So it took me 20 years to really dilute that into that message that I just gave you right there. All right. You know, I know my purpose. I know why I'm on earth. I'm here on earth to help people find their voice, keep their voice, share their voice, connect their voice so that their soul can come out and say hello, which sets up the next one: magic, spirit, energy, God. Uh, I read the book Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza in 2019.
Love it. Love it.
And that book says energy is frequency, frequency carries information.
Yeah.
And when I read that, I said, oh, I know how to teach this. I've done this before. In 2019, Mariah Warren was taking a voice lesson with me. She was singing At Last by Etta James. At last, my love. That one. And I was like, Mariah, we're going to try something. I want you to feel an extraordinary amount of love. And so, what do you feel? What do you love that you feel so much? What do you love more than anything in the world? And she said, my mom. I said, perfect. I want you to feel that love for your mom. And when you feel it, I'm going to feel it. All right. And then I said, it was one of those intuitive egg moments. I go, Mariah, keep your eyes closed. And I want you to visualize the scene inside, outside, day, night, who's there. And when you got that scene, I want you to open your eyes and I'm going to start playing the piano and sing. And so she opened her eyes, she started singing, and it was the most bizarre thing. Man, this is like 2013. I started getting these visions in my head. I was like, what is this? I said, Mariah, stop. Are you outside on a green grass hill with flowers to your left and a tree to your right, like a picnic situation? And she goes, Bertho, how do you know that? I said, I have no idea.
Wow.
So for a whole summer, I went back and forth with these students, and I'd project it, they'd project it. I'd see it, they'd see it. And I was like, this is bizarre, man.
Magic.
But yeah, the key ingredient was that emotion, because that emotion was a frequency that Dispenza identified in his book as whole, love, joy, bliss. Wholeness, holy, being the most powerful one. And so I got a little scared in 2013 and I like got rid of it. I was like, I'm done. We're not going to do this anymore. I'm going to get ran out of town until 2019 when I read that book. And in 2019, when I read that book, I understood why Kim Steinhauer wanted me to come to London and talk about performance magic. So I didn't have an easy way to get people in the flow state so that they could get into that state like I am today talking to you, so that people could feel what we want them to feel and see what we want them to see. I was at a CrossFit workout with my buddy Sean. I was like, Sean, I don't have a steps. I don't have like steps to get people to get into the state so people can feel what we want them to feel and see what we want them to see. God, I need some steps. And then sure enough, Josh, boop. 1, get in a meditative state. 2, build your energy. 3, visualize the scene. 4, action, do the thing. And so I presented that in London. Of course, there were skeptics, just like anywhere.
Of course.
But there were people that cried, the people that got goosebumps, the people that they felt it, they saw it. And in 2019, I was like, man, that's the gift. That's the thing that separates me from everybody else. And I have like 20 to 25 clients now worldwide that I'm working with. We're doing this event in New York next week called Unmute, September 22nd. New York is one of my favorite cities in the world, mainly because of its energy. That's it. This pace. That pace. And so when my pace is that, and New York's pace is that, and I'm in New York and I feel that energy, it's just like that. I mean, that's why people go to New York. It's the energy is, you feel it the second you step off the bus. When you start walking on that sidewalk, you're like, this is different. This is different. This is why people come to New York. This is why the Dreamers, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, this is why they all came to New York. So what I have is an 8-session program. It's 8 sessions. They're recorded over Zoom. You keep that Zoom folder for the rest of your life. I give you the check-in videos, which is the instill check-ins, that thing that I told you. You get my intention steps professionally recorded. It's like a 3-minute audio that I give you. You get my cell phone for life. So, you know, if you're like at an audition or you're doing an audition or you have to do a speech or you have to do something and you're like, man, I got to run this by Matt first. That's why I'm there for life. And, you know, I'm building a community. Like, it's not just a couple of people here and there for a lesson. Like, I want the world to be able to share their soul with their voice and not be so dull and not be so boring. And, you know, like Gordon's mom said, not be so robotic, monotone. But it means that we gotta deal with the emotion, and we gotta be careful on how we give that to the world. You know, I've learned a lot of valuable lessons in the last 2 years. Dark stuff, deep dark stuff, don't share it with your family. Don't share it with the public. Just don't. Share it with people that can handle it, like a therapist, a counselor, a pastor, a priest, or a friend, a coach that can handle it, because you don't want to poison people. But that, you know, that's some of the things that I've learned with this work is it's a gift, but it's also a curse sometimes, because if you don't know how to wield it, you could really hurt some people. And you don't want to do that.
Matt, this has been profound. So much so that I completely forgot about the fact that we need to do a movement moment before we start to slowly wrap up. And this has been exciting. And I know you have something kind of prepared. You seem like you're prepared for lots of things, but let's show people something that you would do in a moment of like a sedentary lifestyle, right? Like, say you've been standing for a long period of time or sitting for a long period of time. What is something that you would do or you would suggest people to do, and maybe even walk us through something in moments like that?
Sure. So there's a couple things. One, I mean, I go to the chiropractor every week. I highly recommend that. I work out every single day. Highly recommend that. But as you notice, I think Josh is standing right now, correct?
Yep.
Standing desks are the best. I encourage all my clients and everybody that I work with to have a standing desk. I've Vari desk, VARI desk is what I recommend. Solid wood. They're you know, they're the electronic. They're really made well. But sometimes what I do is I kind of just, you know, I'm kind of like in a small closed environment here. But what I do, you know, this is my wrestling background too. Lots of people are gonna be like, well, dang, man, I can't just touch my toes like you, like that. But what I do is I just kind of let my body, I put my feet shoulder length apart, one foot slightly in front of the other, and then I just kind of, oh, it popped, and just let my body hang and my arms just kind of hang, and let my back kind of pop a little bit and get that. So that's one thing that I do if I've been sedentary for a little while. I shake my legs out sometimes, shake them out, shake them out. I used to say, shake your arms, shake your legs, stomp your feet. Right. Also, man, I'm giving you all the goods. Hold on.
I love getting the goods, bro. And that for those who are not watching, Matt, he basically bent over Oh, you got a little
It's
a
not
tom
little.
tom. Yeah, that thing is heavy.
It's got a large drum.
It's called a gomba.
A
So
gumbo.
listen to this. Listen to this.
Oh, this is the best. Hey. Oh, I was
Isn't
I
that-
thought you was gonna keep going, bro. I was about to freestyle.
I had
for
a
you.
tribal beat going in my head.
I love that.
I bang the drums sometimes.
That-
I have like three. I have 3 drums.
Matt, that might have
Mhm.
been the coolest movement moment on this show. So thank you
Oh,
for that.
well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, by all means, please.
Hold my beer.
So I'm gonna give you guys a gift. And because I think especially in this time of life, it's important to slow down, and it's important to be in touch with, you know, who we are spiritually, emotionally. All right. And so I'm going to take you guys through my intention steps, and it's only going to take like a minute or two. Just don't do it if you're driving or walking. Like, you don't do this. All right. Don't
Operating
say
heavy
Matt
machinery.
told me. Yeah, operating heavy machinery. Don't say Matt told me to close my eyes, but this is what we're going to do. And so I'm just going to kind of take you through little exercise that I call intention steps. All right. And I encourage you guys to do it with me. If you're at home, just close your eyes, and yeah, let's drop in. So close your eyes, breathe in through your nose slowly, tighten your back muscles, let the pressure go all the way to the top of your forehead, hold your breath, exhale through your mouth, all the stress, all the anxiety, all the depression. Relax your shoulders. Breathe in through your nose. Tighten your back muscles. Let that pressure go all the way to the top of your forehead. Hold it. Exhale through your nose slowly. Breathe in through your nose. Tighten your back muscles. Let that pressure go all the way to the top of your forehead. Hold it. Exhale through your nose slowly. And then repeat after me. I am whole.
I am whole.
I'm love.
I am love.
I'm joy.
I am joy.
I'm bliss.
I am bliss.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
I'm courage.
I'm courage.
I'm strength.
I'm strength.
I'm smart.
I'm smart.
I'm whole.
I'm whole.
Now I want you to visualize your scene. You're going to drop into your sacred space. Is it inside? Is it outside? Is it day? Is it night? And then what's around you? So I'll describe my space as a green grass hill. I got a tree to my left. Sometimes it changes colors. Sometimes it has fruit. Today it's pretty sunny out. I got a beach, and then the ocean's in front of that. Sometimes my dad, he's over there fishing. And in this space, this is your sacred space. You can bring anything, anybody you want to talk to. You can bring in your oldest, wisest self. Mine looks like Gandalf the White. And you could bring in a little 8-year-old self. And so for me, it's little Matt with the Princess Leia shirt on.
Nice.
And this is your space. You can ask any questions to your oldest self, your youngest self, and you can just feel that peace. Soak that up. And when you're ready, come back to this time and space with that peace, with that wholeness, with that love. And you can come back anytime. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back to this time and space.
Powerful. Powerful. Your sacred space is similar to mine, by the way.
Mine too.
Very similar. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think maybe some of that could be for the skeptics out there, the power of suggestion from earlier, but
True.
mine is and it's very interesting because I'm about to be there again very soon, like in reality, because I was just there in non-reality, right? But um, it's basically this river stream that runs along Roger Waters' home on the countryside of London, right? On the
Oh wow,
countryside.
cool.
And it's where I did my first ever fly fishing. And I caught for the first time with fly fishing, I caught a couple fish, and it's a place where every time I'm out there, I always
Mm.
go and I put my feet in the grass barefoot and I ground because I think grounding is very,
Yes.
very important. And I always soak in the sun. And you get a chance to see these beautiful swans. And sometimes you see black swan, which is amazing. And you hear
Mm.
the birds. And I see the grass moving and I see the water flowing, and all of that is in me. It is my sacred space. It really is.
Mm.
And it was so interesting because when I was listening to you say you picture yourself as Gandalf, well, what does Roger Waters look like? Right? Kind of looks like Gandalf, right?
Did he
So,
play guitar?
That's awesome.
right. And so it's just kind of interesting how some of these things intertwine. But I do also think so far we've all talked about being in nature as a part of that sacred
Mm.
space,
Oh yeah,
right?
totally.
Nature's very powerful. And so
Yep.
I think it's always getting back to nature because it's just kind of interesting in today's society, in this modern technology world that we're filled with. It's almost as if we're trying to get farther and farther away from nature, when in
Mm.
reality we should be trying to connect and get closer and closer to it. And I think
I
that's what
agree.
you're doing with the power of voice. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man. So I just I like I gave you guys like a crash course in what I do for help, how I help people. Um, and I'm grateful that God has given me this purpose on earth. Like it's pretty remarkable. Um,
Yeah.
and it's definitely not a normal job. Like a lot of my family and a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues around here, they're like, "What do you do? What are you doing? Where are you going?" But I get to work with some of the coolest people of all time, man. And I'm excited about what the future holds too. So, if you're out there and you need a voice coach, you're a business professional, you're a CEO, you're a president, and people don't understand you, well, it's probably because you need some work.
Yeah.
If you're a singer, I still teach singing lessons also. I love that. I love music. Um, it's kind of a nice release at the end of the day to have some voice lessons with singers also. So I still do that too.
What I think is really cool is that you represent someone that like I could go and get a workout with,
Mm.
or someone I could hang out with, because I feel your energy coming through just from the moment that before we started recording. I even felt that, so that's very
Aw.
cool. And the fact that like you sort of represent something similar to what I do, right? People find it hard to try to explain what I do or who I am. That's
Mm.
because I'm multivaried and I want to be that. I want to be able to dabble into a lot of different experiences. And I feel like you're the same way. And,
Mhm.
so far you've mentioned that you work out all the time and that you focus on your purpose. You focus on, you kind of come back to this meditative state. And so in a way, you're also health coaching, you're helping people with their voice, you're also helping them with their lifestyle. So, it's
Well,
great.
and I need to say this too. So, uh, as a coach, it's important, like Josh. So let's just do it for Josh. So it's important for the body and the mind and the spirit and the soul to all be aligned. And so what I do on every call is I check in. I call them the pillars, where Josh is at today. So Josh has no idea what I'm about to ask him, but we're gonna play. So Josh, mental, book smart, comprehension, problem solving, intelligence. 1 is least, 10 is max. What's your number today?
Uh, Say that again, please.
So mental, book smart, comprehension, problem solving, intelligence. 1 is least, 10 is max. What's your number today?
Today, 9.
Perfect. Physical, physique, nutrition, health, fitness, sleep.
9.
Okay. Spiritual, God, universe, energy.
7.
Okay. Emotional, how do you, and this is two sides to this, okay? Emotional, how do you handle stress, anxiety, depression, anger, fear? How do you show love, kindness, generosity?
10. 10.
Perfect. Abundance, life happening for you, gifts, opportunities, etc.
12.
So what we would work on is your spiritual practice. Um, we would talk about your routine. We'd talk about time you're spending in prayer or meditation, and I'd give you a prescription of some things to do to elevate that number, because it feels really good to be Josh today. But imagine if you were 8, 9, 10 across the board, how you would show up every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what I do.
Yeah, that's really cool. What was really cool to me about that is I never really quantified that each of those questions or each of those points that you just asked me. Never really quantified it, but I know that there's room to improve on all of those points, right? And obviously, I'm being a little funny about the 12, but I do feel like I have extreme amount of abundance. And I
Mhm.
think that is because I've given so much. And that's why I answered that generosity part, because
Mhm.
throughout my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I hadn't been helped, right? We can't do this on our own.
Mm-mm.
But at the same time, when I can replenish that and I can give that back to other people, that just gives me so much abundance, so much joy. And sometimes, like, look, we all go through points of feeling like we don't have enough, but we do. We
Mhm.
do. We just have to remember that, and we have to find ways to work on that and find that and let it find us. And if
Yeah,
we're
man.
kind of like the book you mentioned, Becoming Supernatural, it's the energy that we focus on is the energy that comes back to us as well. And so,
That's
it's
true.
powerful. Yeah. Yeah. So this is really cool. Gordon, what are your thoughts on some of that I just answered?
I love it. I mean, there's Joe Dispenza is somebody that I've looked into for a long time, and I love his book. You Are the Placebo. I actually got it for my family members one Christmas, and I think a lot of people they're familiar with their term or they've heard it, the placebo effect, and they think in terms of just medical trials and people taking a sugar pill and having things affect them. But Joe Dispenza, he shows, there's a positive and negative, as you guys are speaking to here, where if you're believing negative things, that can affect you adversely, just like if you're believing positive things. And of course, the skeptics out there, you can dive more and more into the empirical studies using various things like random number generators and all the various case studies they've done to validate these claims. But ultimately, I think more and more people, however they come to it, are realizing more and more, especially younger generations, that we are much more than just our physical bodies, and we are much more connected to a larger ecosystem. And ultimately, we are all one. Once you really have that aha God moment, whatever it may be, whether it's through a spontaneous Kundalini awakening or a heroic dose of mushrooms or touching God's eye on DMT, all of these elements can get you to the same story. That's part of my mission in a way too, is helping to build bridges and connecting the cosmos, the divine, these sort of etherical and out there things more and more to the modern world, and realizing we are truly not alone on so many levels, and we have a lot of abundance and people willing to help us in many ways. And so it's exciting times. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on right now.
Yeah. In fact, touching on what Gordon was just talking about, he and I met by chance, but really, is it by chance, right? I think it was by design. And together we've been able to do what he was just talking about trying to do by building bridges to connect various worlds and ideas. And I feel like we've been doing that already through this show. And we
Mm.
started working together at the beginning of the year, right, Gordon? Or was it the
Mhm.
end of last year? And since then, I feel like we've been working together and helping each other grow. And I think it's very, very
Mhm.
powerful. And so we can bring people like you on, Matt, and also embed that into this whole process. So it's been beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess as we start to wrap up, is there anything else that you feel like maybe you wanted to voice, pun intended, or
Yeah.
that we forgot to maybe go over before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's something I'm gonna be talking about in New York. Energy is um, it, it's the reason why we're here right now. Like it's the reason why I'm on this show with you guys. And I made a reel about this and it went the other day. But I think it needs to be said again. A lot of people want a straight line to whatever it is that they're trying to do. They think that life should be a straight line, whether it's straight across or completely going up or down. But when life starts doing this, people freak out. And so these habits and these rituals and these routines that I teach my clients every single day, it helps us navigate the crazy. All right.
Mm.
So, you know, if it's doing this, we're gonna do this, right? And we're not gonna go with that pattern. If we go with that pattern, it's gonna create chaos in our life. All right. So these habits and these routines, working out, meditation, gratitude, prayer, eating clean, sleep, all of these things, drinking water, help us navigate the literal storm of life. All right. Because a heartbeat, if it's a straight line, we're dead. A heartbeat has that pattern. A Richter scale, if there's an earthquake, has that pattern. A sound wave has that pattern. And that's life. That's a representation of how we measure energy and frequency. So why in the world would we ever think that life should be a straight line that's very simple from point A to point B on a pavement, on a road that's easy, right? It's not. I'm going through a really difficult time in my life the last month and a half, and but Voiced by Matt's doing this now. It's going higher. And so every time we level up, there's going to be a little dip, boop, but you're going to come right back up if you stay on the course and keep your habits and routines. Because I know that, if you don't have habits and routines that are healthy habits and routines, if you're drinking like my dad did, smoking a lot of weed, just, numbing the pain, right? Numbing it, fading out to the world, and you never deal with the actual issues, then they're going to be passed on to the next generation. And your kids are going to have a choice of whether they're going to deal with it or not. And so I'm the one in my family that is changing my family tree forever so that Max and Leo know how to express themselves with their emotions, with their voice. And that's what I teach my clients and my students to do.
You're breaking the cycle, bro. And
Yep.
and in the most positive sense. And this common expression, there's no light without darkness. This is what I was thinking of when you were explaining that. So bravo to you. Thanks for sharing that. I want to jump into these last couple of questions, and then I got to hop off. But what are your top 2 pet peeves? What are a couple of things that come to mind that just really get under your skin?
People smacking their food when they're eating.
Same, bro. I am 100% the same.
You guys are speed runners on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Validation.
Ah!
And my son Leo, he's the same way, man. Well, actually my son Max. I think Leo will eventually, but Max is the same way. He's like, Leo, quit smacking your food. I don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
Number 2 are liars. Liars.
Oh, yeah.
People that don't tell the truth, man.
Right.
Like when people lie to me,
Gets under your skin, huh?
big time.
Yeah. Now those are both very good. And I knew at some point there would be somebody that would validate my disdain with and there's actually they have a term for this, right? People who
Really?
yeah, like Gordon, could you Google it? Just like people who strongly dislike the sound of loud chewing, something like that. Because really, there's a disorder, and I'll say this now because like if somebody comes out with it, so what? But I wanted to come up with a show that was ASMR and invite people to dinner, and then have it completely quiet, but have them mic'd up like very high,
Oh
and I
man.
and I wanted to like just show people like how annoying that can be.
Called misophonia.
Misophonia, yeah. So I was thinking about coming out with a show called Misophonia or something along those lines, and who knows, maybe I'll do it. I think it'll be really really funny. But just imagine the amount of because there was a point, and I promise I'll get to the last question quickly. But there was a point in which I had a couple really close friends to me that I basically got to the point where I was like, hey bro, um how about you eat before we meet up because I cannot eat with you. I just really can't do it. And I had to be honest, right? Because like if we're friends, right, we got to be able to tell each other the real
Yeah,
deal.
man.
And so he came back with me. Obviously, ego kicked in. He came back to me and tried to prove to me that like loud chewing and slurping and in different cultures means amazing things. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not this culture, bro. That's not me.
No,
So like, I want to be able to hang out with you, but I can't. I can't hear what you're saying because all I hear is you smacking.
boy. No. I
Anyway.
love him. My accompanist Billy Bearden, man. He did Apple every morning, and he'd sit in my office, and it was just like, and I was like, I never had the heart to tell him, man. I was like, God dang, dude.
well, well, maybe you can tell him to watch this show.
Yeah, I will. Hey, Billy.
Right at the end, especially.
Yeah, right. Just fast forward to this moment. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. The last question, which I think we like to end on a positive note, and it's the most beautiful question I think because it is something that I like to practice constantly, and I need to obviously work on it. What is something you're most grateful for?
I am most grateful that we live in a country that I can go after this dream and not have to just work in a company or a corporation or um, that I have the opportunity to build something that's never been built before and dream as big as I want to dream and take action. I think that's pretty amazing. And the fact that I get to teach people how to harness their spirit, their soul, I'm so grateful for that because I'm going to leave everybody with this. There was a guy that was one of the best speakers of all time, best orators of all time. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he got selected to be the man, the keynote at the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. And the night before, as the story goes, Martin and his team were in the hotel and they were writing this great speech. Well, it wasn't hitting the way that Martin wanted to hit. And they kept messing up and they kept trying to figure out how are they gonna make this speech work. Well, they had all kinds of versions of the speech, and Martin had a stack of papers. And so if you watch the video, if you listen to it, towards the beginning of the speech, he's kind of not feeling it, kind of fumbling a little bit. And then you hear in the background Miss Jackson say this, Martin, tell him about the dream.
Mm.
And he pushed the papers aside and he started the speech we all know. I have a dream. I say that, I have goosebumps all over my body
Me
saying that
too,
right now.
bro. Me too.
I say that because that dream is still alive today in every single one of us. Do you think that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to die for his dream? No, nobody wants to die. But was he prepared and did he accept that gift and that responsibility to do what he had to do? And was he ready to die for your dream, Josh? for my dream, for all of our dreams. Yeah, he was ready.
Mm,
And so
wow.
this gift that we have inside of us is a responsibility to be ready.
Yeah.
And he was ready. He knew how to speak. He read all the texts he needed to read. He knew the dream. He knew the mission. He knew his purpose. And when you know that and you found your voice, like he found his voice, you can put the papers aside and just let God, spirit, energy flow through you. And that's what he did. And so I'm grateful that I get a chance to help people find that inside themselves.
Well said. And to even piggyback on that, I mean, thank you for sharing that because that is such a beautiful moment. I feel like that's worthy of getting a clip to insert in there. The thing that I think is interesting about that, per what we were talking about just before, or a couple points before, is that that speech wouldn't have happened had we not had the darkness that was happening in our country at that time anyway,
Goosebumps. Yep.
right? So that just reconfirms everything you're talking about. Life doesn't have to be on the straight line because we would have missed that moment, right?
And
So
that's what I help people with, is taking that darkness, that guilt, that shame, flipping it.
yeah. Can you let people know the best way to continue following you and possibly sign up and get you on the books?
Yeah, man. I do speaking engagements, so if you need a speaker ever, I'll bring it. Obviously do podcasts. But the best way to get a hold of me, two ways. You can email me at voicebymatt@gmail.com, or just send me a message on Instagram. Voice by Matt. That's all you have to do. It's me. I don't have a team. It's me talking to you. And we can set up a Zoom call and see if you'd be a good fit.
The opportunity to bring your voice to the world, bring your soul to the world. And if there's anything that you found worth sharing from this episode, please do so, because that just helps everyone, right? Because my whole point of bringing Matt onto the show was we could have done this one-on-one, and I could have got my greatness out of this, and he could have got his greatness out of it, and no one else would have known about it. But now we want to bring this to the world as best we can, and the only way we can do that is if you share this. Okay, so please go and hit him up. Flood his email and his DMs. And Matt, wholeheartedly and most sincerely, thank you for your time. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Gordon. Pleasure, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully I can see you soon in New York. If I'm still here and we're both here at the same time, then I'd love to at least come and shake your hand. Maybe we get a workout in together. Maybe I can show you what
that'd
I
be great.
do.
You go to Central Park. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right.
All right.
Until next time, everybody, this is Josh signing out from Simply Walk the Talk. Peace.
Simply walk the talk. Walk the talk, talking facts. Move like me, but I move a little fast. Make my move, here to last. Fasten these seatbelts, I'm coming past. Take care of me, longevity. Hack my biology, better believe. Walking the talk, soul, mind, and body connected. Better come give us a listen.